MetroPlan Orlando is in charge of regional transportation planning for Orange, Osceola, and Seminole counties, and we are an agency created by both federal and state law. Our board is made up of local elected officials and representatives from the region's transportation agencies, and we work with various partners throughout the area to improve the transportation network. The board sets transportation policy and has to make tough decisions, including prioritizing projects and determining just how federal and state transportation dollars are spent throughout the region. We plan far into the future, and as you know by being on this webcast, you'll be taking a look at major elements of our plan for the year 2040. The board takes public input and technical analysis into account before making these tough decisions. Our long-range transportation plan is called Blueprint 2040. Federal law requires that the plan be cost feasible, meaning there must be some foreseeable way of getting the revenue necessary to make the proposed improvements. So let's take a look at what Central Florida will look like in about 25 years. One of the major factors we consider is population growth. Where will the population be living, and what will their travel needs be? We answer this through complex computer models. You see that population will grow by an average of more than 50% in our region, with the highest concentration around our major transportation corridors. Osceola County is expected to have the most dramatic growth, with more than twice as many people living there in 2040 as do today. If you have a growing population, it's reasonable to expect that there will also be growth in jobs and employment as well. We expect that our areas of most rapid employment growth will also take place in Osceola County, although the entire region is expected to increase jobs by an average of almost 60%. For the most part, we expect the Central Florida of 2040 to be a more urban environment than it is today. With higher density development, higher densities will make the area more suited for an expanded public transportation system. The high density areas won't be everywhere though. We will still have a mix of urban, suburban, and rural developments. We expect high density to be concentrated along our major corridors. All of these additional people will require more stuff, including groceries, clothing, consumer goods, and more. That means that we can expect a growth in our freight traffic as well. Everything that we buy in the store comes into the region by truck, train, plane, or boat. In Central Florida, about 95% of it comes to us by truck. Today, about 202 million tons of freight move to and through Central Florida each year. And that's enough freight to fill more than 73,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. By 2040, we can expect between 35 and 61% growth in our freight traffic. This will bring economic benefit to the region, producing anywhere between 42,000 and 50,000 jobs, and adding between $1.9 billion and $2.3 billion annually to the Central Florida economy. If we want our goods to be delivered quickly and at a low price, then we must have an efficient transportation network, and we must be willing to share the roads with the trucks. Because of the freight's importance to our regional economy, the 2040 plan gives this area special attention.
Public transportation is an exciting topic, but our public transportation needs far outweigh what we can pay for. We need a much more expanded transit system, but we can't afford it right now. We're going to talk more about funding in a minute, but I want to tell you about a section of our 2040 plan which addresses our unfunded transit needs. We call this our transit blueprint. This blueprint identifies significant corridors and looks at the types of transit that might be offered there. Now, those of you who are watching on the webcast, there's a map on the screen that highlights 18 corridors where bus, light rail, commuter rail, and bus rapid transit projects are needed to keep things moving. We need transit to help us manage congestion. But financing of public transit requires funds well beyond what our riders pay for in tickets, especially when we're talking about premium transit services, such as light rail, streetcars, and commuter trains. The 2040 plan does include several additional elements. Bicycles and pedestrians figure into the 2040 picture since transit depends on good bike and pedestrian traffic patterns so people can use the services. The long-range plan emphasizes closing gaps in sidewalks and completing multi-use trail connections, as well as improvements that promote bike and pedestrian safety. Also, management and operations projects involve technology that help make the most of the transportation system. For the 2040 plan, we're concentrating on corridor management with traffic signal retiming and vehicle communication. These projects are relatively low cost and are accomplished pretty quickly. That makes them flexible and it allows the region to reap the benefits right away. Another management and operations strategy involves quickly clearing crashes and incidents on the side of the road. This is where our Road Rangers program excels. They help nearly 80,000 drivers each year, and the quicker they can help drivers get on their way, the more smoothly our traffic flows. Of course, there are also many smaller scale local road projects in our 2040 plan. You'll find draft lists of these on our MetroPlan Orlando website in the near future.
An important part of creating a long-range plan involves getting community input. Over the past year, we've been out asking what you think the top transportation needs are in the region and how we might pay for those improvements. So far, we've talked to nearly 1,500 adults and 450 students. You may recall us coming out to present at one of your community groups, or perhaps you spoke with us at a local festival or community gathering. We want you to know that we appreciate your continued involvement with us tonight. This MetroPlan Orlando Live event is another key piece of our public participation process. Here's what we've heard from the community over the past year. The top transportation needs identified by Central Floridians that we talked to were: number 1, relieving congestion on our roads; 2, adding passenger rail service; 3, getting distracted driving under control; 4, improving pedestrian safety; and 5, increasing bus service. You'll hear more about roads and transit in just a moment. While it's difficult to address distracted driving through specific transportation projects, safety is taken into account through our congestion management process. Our board is also supportive of the passage of tougher laws on distracted driving. Additionally, MetroPlan Orlando is a big supporter of Best Foot Forward, a local pedestrian safety campaign that uses engineering, enforcement, and education to improve walking conditions. And now it's time for a message from Commissioner Scott Boyd, a MetroPlan Orlando board officer.
Don't forget, we want to hear from you. Next, you'll hear about some exciting mega projects that will transform our region. Those of you watching the webcast can send in questions using the chat feature. Those of you on the phone can dial 0 to submit your question to an operator.
Now, in early June, we'll hold our official public hearing for the year 2040 Long-Range Transportation Plan. The MetroPlan Orlando Board will be considering the plan for adoption on June 11th at 9 a.m. in our offices in downtown Orlando. So please check in with us at metroplanorlando.com for more information.